Hello and a very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News and to Monday night's calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
Lady of the Hills. Almost 2 decades after this mother's body was found in a Dales beauty spot, detectives head to Thailand to try to solve the mystery.
We can't move forward without understanding all the aspects about her life, and particularly the last few months of her life.
Utter devastation. We hear from the Leeds doctor doing his bit in one of the world's worst disaster zones.
The impact and the damage and the destruction, I mean, it is on a scale which is simply unimaginable. Like you see something on the news, you see videos. When you actually go there and you see things with your own eyes, that is something completely different.
In sport, it's back to the future. Neil Warnock takes the reins at Huddersfield Town, a full 28 years after leaving the club.
And I'm down on the farm in Barnsley to meet some of the day's cutest new arrivals.
But first tonight, detectives have travelled from North Yorkshire to Thailand to speak to the family of a woman who was found dead in the Yorkshire Dales almost 2 decades ago.
Walkers discovered the body of a woman now known to be Thai-born Lamduan Armitage near Pen-y-Ghent. Her identity was unknown for several years, but people who lived close to where she was found took her to their hearts.
Police believed she'd been killed and now hope they're a step closer to solving the mystery of her death. Katie Oscroft has the story.
It's almost 20 years since there was disbelief in this quiet North Yorkshire village as the body of a woman known only as the Lady of the Hills was found. The people who lived here didn't know her, but have kept her memory alive ever since.
The villagers felt very concerned that there was no family or friends coming to look for her. So they did take her to themselves. And every year in November, we remember those who have died, and Lamduan was chief among them and still is. Candles are lit here for her every year.
It was a group of walkers who found the woman's body as they set off along the Three Peaks, a route which attracts many people to this beautiful but remote part of the world. But no one knew why this woman had come here, and for 15 years no one even knew her name. She is Lamduan Armitage. She would have been 55 and she was married with 3 children. Her grave now bears her name. Thanks to advances in DNA and fresh information, as in 2019, detectives looked many miles from Horton in Ribblesdale and discovered a family in Thailand who had been searching for years for their daughter. This investigation began in 2004. It could now be close to a conclusion.
We can't move forward without understanding from Lamduan's family all the aspects about her life, and particularly the last few months of her life. And then when we understand those, I think we're in a better position to certainly inform the coroner about what the circumstances are and any other action that needs to be taken.
The remains of Lamduan Armitage may in time be taken to her family in Thailand from this Yorkshire village where she was never known in life but was looked after in death. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Horton in Ribblesdale.
Next tonight, 1 week on from the earthquake which hit Turkey and Syria, a doctor from Barnsley who's been part of the aid mission has described the harrowing scenes he witnessed. Azim Salim has been on the front line of a number of natural disasters over 20 years, but told Calendar he's never seen such devastation.
And Dr Salim says the rescue must continue if there's to be any hope of limiting further loss of life. Sally Simpson reports.
Working with aid agency Humanity First UK, Dr Salim was on the scene of last Monday's disaster within 48 hours. The southeastern province of Kahramanmaraş in Turkey was decimated by 2 large earthquakes, measuring 7.5 and 7.8, affecting hundreds of thousands of people there and in neighbouring Syria. Dr Salim and his team set up 2 medical camps and have been providing essential care to the injured.
Above all, obviously, injuries, things falling on people. People are trying to help themselves, help others. sometimes the search and rescue workers, injuries to them as well. So the scale of the injuries or the patients we see is quite variable.
But despite having worked in similar conditions in disaster zones including Gambia and Nepal, he says nothing could have prepared him for the destruction he was to face.
You see something on the news, you see videos, you read in the newspapers, but that's a very different when you actually go there, when you're on the ground and you see things with your own eyes. That is something completely different. For me, it was very new situation because I was seeing something which I cannot fix, which I cannot treat, which I cannot make back to normal, and that feeling was really difficult. It was new, and it was very difficult for me to cope with.
With the death toll standing at 33,000 and the UN warning that figure could double, Dr. Salim says it's crucial that aid from the UK and elsewhere continues.
All we can do is to help them as much as we can, help the local administration, help the local public, make sure that we do our level best to decrease the pain and the suffering which is happening locally there.
The UK government has already matched £5 million of the funds raised here. There will continue to be calls for more. Sally Simpson, ITV News.
Now do stay with us because still to come on calendar tonight in sport, there's no white smoke for the Whites, a battling defeat against their bitterest rivals, and the hunt for a new Leeds United manager goes on.
Also tonight, putting a spring in our step, we head down to the farm to meet the season's newest arrivals. Detectives investigating a sex attack on a 13-year-old girl in Woodlands in the Chapeltown area of Sheffield have shared the route she's understood to have taken last Wednesday in the hope of jogging someone's memory. She was assaulted by a man as she walked through Woodland near to what's known locally as Duck Pond and Charlton Brook, close to Chambers Valley Road. Police have also released an image of a man they want to identify.
Firefighters are damping down after a blaze involving around 100 cars at a scrapyard near Chesterfield. They were called shortly after 6 this morning to the fire on the Armitage Industrial Estate on Station Road at Old Whittington. Crews from throughout Derbyshire were helped by those from South Yorkshire and Nottinghamshire. Neighbouring businesses were evacuated and residents were asked to keep windows and doors closed throughout the day.
The partner of a former Chesterfield footballer who found out she was pregnant with his child just days after his funeral is now fighting to change the law for bereaved mums and babies.
Yes, Jordan Sinnott died after being assaulted in Retford Town Centre 3 years ago. Kelly Bossons is now mum to their 2-year-old daughter Maisie. But when she went to register Maisie's birth, she discovered she couldn't put Jordan on the birth certificate because they weren't married when he died. Well, Kelly is now campaigning to change that, as she's been telling Amelia Beckett.
All Jordan wanted out of his life was to have his family of his own. So I feel very fortunate that he's left me with Maisie.
2-year-old Maisie is the joy amongst the heartbreak. Jordan Sinnott was just 25 when he died after being violently attacked in Retford Town Centre. Just days after his funeral, Kelly, his partner of 3 years, found out she was pregnant.
It's almost like an out-of-body experience, like you're looking in on somebody else's life. Even now, when I think back to everything we've been through, you can't quite believe that happened to you. I'm pretty sure it's not all sunk in yet.
9 months later, Maisie was born, but in the midst of dealing with her grief while becoming a new mum, there was yet another blow. When she went to register Maisie's birth, she was told Jordan couldn't be listed as the father because they weren't married at the time of his death.
It was just horrendous. It was just something else. I couldn't even believe that it was a thing. Like she was his daughter, he was her dad. She's had enough taken away from her, and now she's not even got the legal right to have him documented on her birth certificate. It's just crazy.
After a 2-year court process costing upwards of £1,500, Jordan's name is now on the birth certificate. But it's something she says should never have happened. So now she's joined forces with the charity Widowed and Young, determined to be the vehicle for change.
Most people, they've got absolutely no idea that this is the case. And, you don't expect to be widowed whilst you're pregnant. I mean, it's just a horrendous situation. And to then have to go through this whilst you're grieving and to have to pay just needs to be sorted. And whilst they're waiting for something to be done about the law, to actually the process to be made far simpler.
We can't change the experiences that we've had. We can just use our experiences to make it better for other people. It's just the right thing to do.
Do you think Jordan would be proud of you?
Yeah, I don't think he'd be surprised either.
A foundation bearing Jordan's name is already working to help teams and individuals in grassroots sports. And while it took 2 years for that name to reach his daughter's birth certificate, Kelly hopes it will soon bear quite the legacy. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, near Mansfield.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale with a look at what's happening.
Coming up on the programme, tributes to the strong and fearless teenager stabbed to death in Warrington. Brianna Jai's family said today the loss of the 16-year-old had left a massive hole in their lives. Also ahead, the devastation of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria laid bare. CCTV shows how buildings were reduced to rubble. The British security guard accused of passing embassy secrets to the Russians and...
Not clear though. It's in! Darvel in Wonderland!
Can they do it again? Darville's dreams of reaching the Scottish Cup quarter-final. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
We certainly will, Mary, thank you. Now, the world of gaming has seen some major leaps in technology over the last few years, and now developers are being urged to use those advances to make their products even more inclusive.
Around 1 in 5 gamers has a registered disability, and experts say from simple apps to console blockbusters, new features such as eye tracking and speech recognition could mean more people should be playing than ever before. Nick Smith reports.
Paul Phillips, like many 30-year-olds, has been an avid gamer since childhood. But a car accident at 20 left him with a spinal injury that limited the movements in his hands. For a long while, Paul struggled to get back to playing some of his favourite games. But 4 years ago, a major developer released an adaptive controller for his console. And with a few extra modifications by a specialist charity, Paul can now certainly show me a thing or two on FIFA.
A big part of my growing up and my teenage years were playing games with my family. When I became disabled, it was quite a big loss for us. It's important to keep people involved. Without the systems, I wouldn't be able to play. I wouldn't be able to do it without the technology that there is today.
The charity which helped create Paul's bespoke gaming setup is utilising the latest adaptive technology to open up the world of gaming to new audiences.
We've got a nice large joystick that's a little bit more resistive, and we've used a Meritopper. So it just means that someone who needs sort of a larger hand movement can just use their whole hand rather than having to use a tiny joystick, which might be a bit difficult for them.
Games offer people a wide range of opportunities to explore new worlds, to be able to make friends in new worlds, and also as a great way to be able to play in the same way as everyone else. It's just such a lovely way, not only for you to enjoy yourself, but also it's a great way if you've got a physical challenge or you're an elderly person to be able to play and interact with other friends. Games are much more accessible to everyone than they ever were before.
Gamers with physical disabilities make up a sizable chunk of a multi-billion-pound market. And industry experts attending the Yorkshire Games Festival in Bradford say developers have started catching on.
There's a lot of efforts that are being made by game developers in order to include more people that look like them in games. Games are such a lovely way of connecting those people with people who care about the same things that they care about. You can join a game, you can join a Discord community about a game, do various things in order to really connect with people who love the same things as you and can really help you to feel connected.
And as technology improves and games become more and more sophisticated and immersive, barriers to enjoying what they have to offer can continue to be removed to make sure that in a virtual world, no player is ever left behind. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Well, talking of playing games, it's time for sport and the return of one of football's biggest characters.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Yeah, he's one of sport's biggest characters. It's Chris. But that's not who we're actually talking about, is it? An old but new manager at Huddersfield Town?
Yeah, I'm sure you're both more than aware that it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Huddersfield Town have returned to an old flame. Neil Warnock is back, out of retirement and rekindling his love affair with the beautiful game. Now 74, Warnock has managed 16 clubs during a long managerial career. One of those was Huddersfield Town, whom he led to promotion in the second division playoffs in 1995. Ronnie Jepson will also return to the club as Warnock's assistant, but they won't be in charge for Wednesday's game at Stoke. Narcis Pelak will continue as interim head coach. Now, Warnock has a contract until the end of the season and will be tasked with keeping the Terriers in the Championship. Saturday's defeat at Wigan leaves them second bottom, a point from safety, but the fans we spoke to earlier believe Warnock could well be the man to save their season.
Well, he's a brilliant manager. He helped us get 2 promotions last time he was here and helped us get promoted back to the Championship. So I think he's a brilliant manager to have in.
Absolutely awesome. Best manager, I think, that could come in and help us at the moment.
I'm glad it's a short-term contract because I don't think long-term is what we need, but to get us out of this trouble, I think he's the best manager we could have got at this point.
30 years on, it's kind of maybe unfinished business for us. It was really sad to lose him, but it's, if anyone can keep us up, it's probably Neil Warnock, you know.
And Sheffield United going great guns for a return to the Premier League. The Blades brushed aside Swansea at Bramall Lane on Saturday. Automatic promotion is now theirs to lose. Second place in the Championship, but crucially 10 points clear of Middlesbrough in third. Coincidentally, the visitors to Bramall Lane on Wednesday.
I thought we were very good today, with and without the ball. And I think you have to be, certainly without the ball, to play Swansea because they like to try and dominate. We wanted to turn that to our advantage, and I thought we did that. Really aggressive, really brave to try and press, 100% committed to it, and it allowed us to really get on top and sort of dominate the game.
Elsewhere in the Championship, Rotherham drew 0-0 with Blackpool. OK, let's move on to the best of the rest now, and we'll stay in Sheffield because, of course, Sheffield Wednesday are also going great guns this season. After beating Plymouth last weekend, the Owls look set to claim another major scalp in their bid for promotion from League One. But from 2-0 up, the Owls conceded twice and had to make do with a point from their trip to Ipswich. Elsewhere, Barnsley remain in the playoff picture after a 2-0 win over Cambridge. Arguably result of the weekend, though, belonged to Bradford City, who went to League Two high flyers Stevenage and won 3-2. The winner scored by Jamie Walker 4 minutes from time. Mansfield will have one eye on the automatic promotion places after victory over an informed Gillingham, and after waiting all season for his first Doncaster goal, 2 came along in the same game for Luke Molyneux to help Donny's mini resurgence. That's your lot from me. Neil Warnock, we're hearing from him on Thursday. Oh, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'll be looking forward to that, so I love a bit of Neil Warnock.
I think I'll be at every press conference from now until the end of the season. You know.
Well, hold you to that, Chris. See you later. Now, they are traditionally a sign of the changing seasons. Flocks of migrant birds heading to our lakes and wetlands from colder climes in search of more temperate weather. But conservationists say that global warming means fewer are arriving every year.
Yes, in places like Blacktoft Sands in Goole, birdwatchers have seen a significant decline in the number of certain species which would usually have spent the winter here. With the rapid rise of temperatures across Europe, many are staying elsewhere along their usual migration route. Chloe Oliver has more.
After flying thousands of miles, this is the view many wetland birds will see on a day like today, where better to rest their tired wings. But fewer and fewer of them are being recorded as the climate crisis takes its toll on their habitat. As part of the Wetland Bird Survey, every month thousands of birdwatchers across the UK go out and count in their area. At Blacktoft Sands Nature Reserve in Goole, volunteers say they've noticed a large drop in the number of birds.
One of the biggest declines on the Humber has been the communal garden mallard, there was massive great flocks sort of in the 70s, 80s, and they've gone down to just a few thousand in recent years.
Warmer winters in the Arctic has seen a 60% decline in water birds over the last decade. That's been caused by a loss of habitat and also the effects of a warming climate on their food supplies, something that experts here say is extremely worrying.
Some species are declining everywhere, something like pochard, which is a diving duck, they're dropping across the board. And even though the numbers might be dropping a bit, we still have 13 million water birds coming here during the winter. We're really important internationally. It's one of the things that we're most special for in the UK.
Neil Calbraid has worked for over 20 years monitoring birds. I caught up with him on his daily round to find out the changes he's seen firsthand.
It's a really nice mix of species we get. It's a nice place just to start the day, really. There's a little egret. It's another species that 20 years ago they'd be really rare, but now they're very common. They've moved up from the south and they're breeding widely. We used to get big groups of goosander in winter, and now we just get one record a year. There's other species like gadwall. We used to get a few of them, and now they're very common. So some species are obviously doing well, some species not so well, and that reflects in my daily bird watching.
By continuing to monitor our feathered friends, we can build a picture of which species are most in need of conservation effort to prevent any more empty nests. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Well, now we're staying with the nature theme, aren't we, Ian? But perhaps on a little bit more of a positive note, because with a hint of spring in the air, there have been plenty of new arrivals at farms across our region.
Yes, I must warn you, cuteness alert coming up. Yes, it's a particularly busy time down at Cannon Hall Farm near Barnsley, where the lambing season is in full swing. Martin Fisher is live there for us now to see how the staff are working around the clock. Martin, have you had your hands dirty today?
I certainly have, actually, but that's another story. Yeah, it's been really, really busy down here at Cannon Hall Farm. I'm effectively in the maternity unit, and there's been about a dozen lambs born today, including these two down here that are just keeping warm under the lamp there. That's a brother and sister boy and a girl. They were born earlier today, and I was on hand to see that. But it's not just lambs that are born here. There's been lots of other animals making their first appearance this spring here in Barnsley. Spring in Barnsley, and although it's sunny today, for these new arrivals, well, they've got their raincoats on just in case. And they're far from alone, with the farm busy with newborns. Some, though, need a little help.
Whenever I checked inside the sheep, I realised that one of the legs wasn't, there was only one leg coming up instead of two. So I just pulled the second leg up. Once I pulled the second leg up, the lamb just came out of it very easy then at that stage.
And just a few minutes later, they had to step in again. If Philip hadn't, there was a chance the mother would reject her second lamb.
But if she had been left a couple of hours, she could have. The first one definitely would have been lost. But if you lambed the first one and walked away and said let her lamb the second one, you could have come back in a couple of hours. You could have lost mum and lamb. So.
But it's not just sheep that have been arriving. These boar goat triplets are just a few days old.
They're quite a striking looking goat. They've got a chestnut coloured head, they've got a white body, they originate from Africa, and they're quite a big goat as well.
Donkeys too have been arriving this spring. These are miniature donkeys, they come from Italy, and this one's just, well, about 2 months old. She won't grow a lot bigger than this, just probably to the size of the one behind, and they're very, very friendly, aren't you? And probably the smallest new arrivals are these pygmy goats.
These have only been born in the last day or two. We sell all of our pygmy goat kids as pets, so they'll be decorated in somebody's garden somewhere.
Do they make good pets?
They make brilliant pets, yeah. They're really, they are escape artists, so you've got to be a bit careful about that, but yeah, brilliant pets.
So a busy time for everyone here at the farm. Yeah, so lots of new arrivals here at Cannon Hall Farm. You'll probably hear some of them as we do this. And joining me now is Amy, who works here. Amy, this is a really, really busy time for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely manic this time of year. It just doesn't stop. It's constant round the clock for us all.
Now, I was on hand earlier to see a couple of lambs born. And you think of, lambs being born in the field, but you have to have people here to look after them, because otherwise they can get into trouble, can't they?
Yeah, 100%. So some of them are fine in the field as long as they're checked on morning and evening. But no, a few do have to come in just so we're on hand to give them a bit of help if they need some extra assistance with the birthing.
And you're doing some good work with rare breeds as well, including this little chap.
Yeah, it's a Swiss Ballet Black Nose is this one, so we've got these and some Dutch Spotted as well. These are embryo transfers, so we're just trying to increase their numbers in the UK, really.
Do you enjoy this time of year?
Yeah, it is. It's really busy, but it's worth it.
OK, Amy, thanks a lot. So there you have it, lots of new arrivals, including this chap here at Cannon Hall Farm.
Oh, thank you, Martin.
I think Martin got the job of the day there.
He certainly did.
Lambs
Lucky boy.
in raincoats.
What could be cuter?
Exactly. Well, they need those raincoats. Let's find out with James.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hi there, good evening. Much brighter end to the day today. I think we'll see more in the way of sunshine tomorrow too. And it's because we've got high pressure. It's relatively mild too. Thing is, as we head through the middle part of the week, we start to see this succession of fronts move through, none of them bringing a great deal of rain. It might get a little bit breezy for a time, particularly as we head towards the end of the week. But back to the here and now, clear skies through the evening and overnight, 1 or 2 bits of cloud will drift through. But because we've got some clear skies, expect to see a little bit of mist developing, 1 or 2 thicker patches. We've also got a little bit of a frost, particularly out towards the west there, with temperatures below freezing. So tomorrow, if you're off to work, particularly early, do allow a little bit of extra time. I think we could see 1 or 2 issues with mist and fog on the roads. Eventually, we will start to see that either melt back or lift into low cloud before eventually melting away, so that as we get into the afternoon, I think we're in for a decent spell of sunshine. Light breeze from the south, bit of sunshine, won't feel too bad with the highs of around 10 or 11 Celsius. Looks as though it could also be a similar start to the day on Wednesday. Lots of mist potentially early on, lots of sunshine to melt it back. Then we start to see a little bit of cloud pushing in from the west. This front really not bringing us a great deal in the way of wet weather. And once again, temperatures around the 11 or 12 mark. Thursday sees the next system move through. You can start to see a few more isobars on the map, so it is going to be a little bit breezier, still on the mild side though, and then a bit more of a breeze around on Friday. Have yourself a great evening.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you very much, James. Looks like a decent week ahead, especially for all those new arrivals down in Barnsley.
Oh, weren't they so cute? Lovely to have them on the programme tonight. Thank you to you for watching. I'll be back with the late news after news at 10, but from Lisa and from me, good night.
Bye-bye.